Hi, welcome everyone to Doing Marriage with Henry and Lundy. This is a special insert on how to make it through this lockdown without getting divorced or putting some kids in boxes. So we've just given a bit of thought of it, a bit of research, and we've looked at ways to mitigate the frustration that sets in when you're spending so much time with one person or just with your family with nowhere to go, nothing more to do, those nigglies that creep in and they just seem to become mountains. Those things you could normally look past are now in your face every day, all day long, without break, without any gaps. Ask Lani, she knows all about it. I can be quite a handful.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, it's Henry and I, and we've experienced over the past few years, we've had a full house, and then we had an empty nest, and now we've got a 2-year-old in the house. So we're facing some new challenges and some new, uphill battles. And now with the lockdown, we've got a full house with a 2-year-old. So yeah, we know how you feel.
Okay, just to clarify, it's not our 2-year-old.
No.
It's Landy's eldest daughter who's also staying with us, his 2-year-old daughter, little Vicky, which proves to be quite challenges when you've got all your kids older than 20 and suddenly you have a little 2-year-old package. Anyway, let's jump straight into it. The key that most people miss is setting the foundation, setting our understanding when we went into this to start off with. A lot of people, we've heard, hey, it's lockdown time, everyone rushed to the shops, bought all the toilet paper, bought all the hand sanitizer, and now we're in lockdown. And now it's a situation of, okay, so now what? How am I supposed to behave? What's my expectations of you as my wife or my husband or my child or whoever you are in this home? Sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's grandparents, extended family. I don't know what the home situation is. But suddenly we were just in this thing and we just carried on. And we thought life would carry on as per normal, which isn't quite true. It's a totally unique situation. It's very different and it's very challenging on our relationships, not just marriage. And the funny part is the more people there are in the house, the more strain it puts on your relationship as a husband and wife, because now you almost tend to start taking out those frustrations on the one you are closest to, which is your spouse. And that's where it starts going wrong.
Okay. So when it starts going wrong is when you can't escape. Where you used to just go for a drive or go and sit at the beach or go and chat to friends or just get out the house, and when you come back it's almost diffused and you can carry on with life. What's happening now is you need to keep looking at this person. You need to now, you're forced to communicate with them, and you're forced to overcome the obstacles that have been niggling at you. So how do you actually do that? How do you overcome an obstacle that is permanently in your face and you don't have a way of escaping it or resetting your brain?
Start like you want to finish. So setting out your starting point is very important. And yes, I know we're quite a few days, more than halfway into this, but it's not too late. It's still a good time to sit down and take stock if you haven't already. So your starting point would be to kind of compare your fantasy to your reality. So when you walked into this, what was the fantasy picture you had? And how does that look in reality now? And you need to make peace with the fact that your fantasy isn't reality.
What was your fantasy when we walked into this?
I thought I'd sleep all day, grow a beard, look like old Santa Claus, do all that. No, I didn't really have one. I knew that I had some expectations of what I could have done around the house and that. But even those things started running out, and that wasn't enough for 21 days. So I don't know. I'm more of a shoot from the hip type of person. So I didn't really have a fantasy around it. But what I did have was okay, so this is what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to wing it. And eventually, winging it, you kind of run out of things to wing it with, and you start filling your time with menial tasks and things that are actually more boring than what they're good.
Mine was on the opposite scale.
Oh, yes. What did you say?
I had a whole long list of things,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I don't think I'm going to get through them.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I'm pressurized. So I think you're feeling the pressure from my side.
Well, true.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so what's happened with us is Lundy's in go, go, go mode, and I'm in slow, slow, slow mode. And the two are clashing, where we actually had to come to a point and sit down and say, listen, yeah, this is where we're at. This is kind of how I see it, and this is how you see it. How can we help each other? How can I go when I need to go? And how can Lundy stop when she needs to stop? And that was very important for us to get to that. And thus we set out a few rules around this. Okay, so Henry, if you're going to go chill on the couch and look like a vegetable for an hour, just let me know. Then I'm aware of it, and I don't expect you to be at my ready. And the same is, I said to Lundy, is when you go out and you're going to be busy now and you're going to need me, just let me know so that I don't go and do my own thing and then you getting frustrated because I'm not there helping you, which can be frustrating, as you can well imagine. There's quite a few things. So rules are very important. Set out those rules. Set out the expectation you have of each other, you have of your kids, you have of your those in your space. Set out boundaries. Because without boundaries, it becomes a very loose thing. It becomes a very tough, difficult thing to manage. Because if there's not a boundary on how much time you watch TV, how much time you read your book, how much time you're doing work, people can get consumed with that, especially now, because what else am I going to do? If I'm not working, what am I going to do? If I'm not watching TV, what am I going to do? Which is a very real thing.
Henry, there's a space here that I actually want to talk about. Is I'm sensing that there's a lot of couples that will probably be escaping in this time. Because of anxiety and because of the issues in the home, because you don't know how to face it. What you find is either the husband or the wife will escape. Maybe we can talk about some ways that couples actually tend to escape.
Oh boy, it's anything that's keeping you from your spouse, really. If there's anything that you're going to purposefully to get away from your spouse, that's an escape. And sometimes those escapes can be very real, valuable, or real things that you're doing. You could be, I don't know, fixing the roof of the house, which is very necessary. But when you're spending every waking hour there just because you don't want to be with your wife, that's an escape. So it's stuff that's keeping you from your spouse, or not keeping you, it's stuff by choice that you are doing to be away from your spouse.
Avoiding,
absolutely.
It's the avoidance.
Yeah.
And the minute there's an avoidance, that's where you need to start looking at what is causing the avoidance. And that's when you need to have the discussion to say, I'm avoiding you because.
Correct.
Which is difficult if the area, the space between you isn't safe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so those we've got rules, expectations, what's allowed, what isn't, things like that is a very big one to put into place. In this time as well, something that you need to talk about is money in your relationship, money in your household. There's a lot of people without work now. There's a lot of people that know they're not getting paid, or they're on half their salary, or whatever. There's people like us who are self-employed, so no work, no pay. That's just the way it goes. So something, and it's probably, money is probably the first thing people avoid talking about, especially when it's going bad or when there isn't money. However, this should be one of the first things you do talk about. Talk about that money. Talk about what there is, what can be done, what plans. Have an open discussion with your spouse. Open up that communication and say, this is where we are. This is what's real, and this isn't what's real. And what more important than that is make peace with it.
Big one.
So if you don't have enough money, put down what the plan is, put it down on paper, put a budget down, and then make peace with that.
It's not a dictatorship either. It's a discussion between husband and wife. You need to discuss it between the two of you, and it's not a case of this is more important, so I'm having it, and you can't have that.
Yes.
It's about sacrificing from both ends, not one of the couple getting their way and the other one not.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't say that better. If you are making dictatorship decisions about money, you are taking responsibility of that money. So when it runs out, you're the one that's going to be having to be answered. You're the one that's going to have to answer for that. All right, so money is very big. The other thing I want to bring up is the bedroom, sex, intimacy.
Good one.
In this time, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stresses, there's a lot of frustrations, there's a lot of irritations. Normally, one of the first things to go out the window is intimate time. Time when you're spending with your wife or your husband, and you're connecting on a different level. That intimate connection, that time when you're spending really connecting and becoming one. That normally goes first for some reason. However, you need to talk about this. You need to almost be very insistent that you have regular, consistent sex during this period.
I just want to speak up for the ladies here.
Yes.
Because ladies feel emotions a lot more than what the men do. And I think you need to be sensitive with your wives. From an anxiety perspective, and I think if you're speaking about the finances, you're speaking about the household situations, and you've got rules and boundaries in place, it will create a place of safety.
Absolutely.
Which then in turn will lessen the anxiety from the wife's perspective. So she can become intimate with her husband. But just from a husband's, be very sensitive with how you treat your wives in this time. It's very important to remember a woman needs communication. She needs to be spoken to, and it's not the time to be hiding things now. It's a time to be working on speaking about the tough things. When you're speaking about the tough things, you're creating safety and you're creating security for your wives, which in turn will then give you your benefits from the intimate side.
Absolutely. And that's definitely something to look forward to. The last point under the understanding and the foundation phase is really to set goals for yourself for this period. What do you want to achieve every hour, every day, every week? What are those things that you want to get done? What are those things that you want to master? What is that new language you want to learn? Whatever the case is. But set goals for yourself. Set them up, because there's nothing more fulfilling for us as people is to meet goals. Those are probably the biggest driving force that we can have.
Relationship goals too.
Those two.
Couple goals. I mean, the things that you couldn't do because you didn't have the time, you can do as a couple now.
Yeah, well, you can't go sit on the beach. But,
no.
There are things you can do around the home.
Yeah. I think during this time is a very good opportunity for you to foster the romantic side of things. Once the kids have gone to bed, is to cook a special meal and to really sit and talk about the things that you don't normally talk about. When there's a rush happening, or you need to get up the next morning to go to work, you don't have that. But Henry spoke when he started was to spend the day in bed. Maybe that is one of the goals that you've never done as a couple, is to spend the day in bed. Or to lie in bed and actually have a different discussion, which you never did before.
Yeah, definitely. Let your mind expand a bit. There are definitely things that you can set as goals for you as a couple. Great. I welcome you to stay tuned for the next part, which we'll start talking about communicating these frustrations. We'll start talking about how to deal with it and things like that. Now that there is a foundation phase, and now that we've set the platform of just the initial things that you can do to build that up, we'll start taking those down one by one.